This one's a classic.
Howdy everybody, it's me, antisocial Togain. When I was growing up, I found that instead of having friends, I wanted to spend all of my time alone playing a variety of MMOs. These were usually Korean MMOs, since they were so early to adopt the free-to-play model. For whatever reason, this was the more appealing path for me. I opted to spend my time playing games that had cool design choices and themes, but were admittedly plagued with pay-to-win mechanics and a lack of polish.
Okay, I've successfully created a background because the game developers didn't want to.
These games were often run by companies who, from our perspective, didn't really seem to care as much about the awesome games they had as they did about their bottom line. And I get it. Running an MMO is probably pretty tough financially. In the early 2000s, game developers were starting to tire a bit of the gritty, dark themes that so many Korean MMOs had been relying on, and it was during this era that we saw an influx of these cute little K-MMOs from a variety of companies. There were 3 games in particular that I really loved and spent a lot of time playing as a kid: Flyff, Trickster Online, and Ragnarok Online. There was also another game called MapleStory that I played a little bit, but I don't know who Maple is or how you could make a game about their Tory, which is not a real word. All I ever cared about in these cutesy MMOs that I grew up playing was exploring their worlds, seeing what every class, area, skill tree, and town held. I had no money as a kid, and I certainly wasn't playing optimally, so when I was growing up, the microtransactions seemed like a non-factor in the experience of the game. I also usually never cared about reaching endgame. I played these games as though they were single-player experiences. I just wanted to see everything they had to offer. The insane amount of grinding that these MMOs demanded was something I simply had to adjust to, since it was often necessary to reach a high level in order to see all of the content that the artists and designers created for the game. And with this knowledge of endgame content being harder to come by back in the day, especially in the early days of YouTube, this high-level content felt magical and new and exciting whenever I would unlock it. That's not really the case so much anymore. MMOs have changed, that's a fact. Over-documentation has ruined all mystery, and the feeling of excitement and wonder that I used to get launching a new game that was 2 gigabytes in size and took 3 hours to download in 2007 is something that just can't be captured anymore. And that's fine. Accepting that change is important, I think. So in the interest of accepting change and never dwelling on the past, let's talk about these early 2000s cutesy Korean MMOs for the next hour and a half. I'm always on the lookout for new MMOs. I love the genre. A while ago, I found this game called Eidolon, which is a unique blend of MMO and idle game. There's tons of stuff to do in this game, and I love that about it, so when they approached me with a sponsorship offer, I immediately accepted. We all know that MMOs these days are quite different than what they used to be, and idle games are still relatively new. Eidolon combines the best of these genres to create a unique experience that's actually worth my time. There's nothing quite like starting up the game after a long day of work at the YouTube video mines and collecting my AFK gains from Eidolon for the day. A lot of MMOs I've played over the years lean really heavily into the grind, sucking away hours of your day while you watch a little EXP bar go up after manually killing enemy after enemy. I don't have time for that. There's video gold I gotta get from those mines. Eidolon allows me to still make forward progress on my account, even when I'm not actively playing. It's the only MMO that I really spend any time on nowadays. Since the game is available on both iOS and Steam, I often find myself playing on my phone before bed, making sure I got enough oak logs that day so I can give them to the pig and level up my mining efficiency. And whenever I'm at my computer, I can just launch it through Steam and my account is seamlessly saved to the cloud, which is actually really nice. The pig's still there too. You can play Eidolon for free on Steam using the links posted in the description and the pinned comment. Thanks again to Eidolon for sponsoring this video.
Welcome to Togain OS. Nothing weird is happening. New program added. Flyff.exe virus. Chapter 1. Flyff.
One of the most defining games of my childhood is one that I think a lot of people know, even if they might have forgotten about it. Flyff. A portmanteau of fly for fun. I don't remember how I originally came across this game, but I do remember the promotional art being very good. The gesture art is my favorite. Why did they do this? Why did they draw the characters like this? Why? I'm not sure why they chose this style exactly, but it clearly worked. I wish I was joking, but this is truly what led to me pressing download on the website when I was like 11 years old. And in a more cosmic sense, it's what led to me eventually making this video, if you think about it. Flyff was created by a company called Gala Lab. The company started out in May 2002 as Aeonsoft Inc., and they started developing Flyff, showing off a prototype that was called Clockworks in December 2002. By September of 2003, the game was ready for a closed beta test in Korea, and this is when the name was changed to Flyff. The name Clockworks comes from the game's lore, used in-game as the name of what is effectively a raid boss, a character who had a very important role in the creation of the game's world as it is in its current state. Gala Lab had publishing for a Japanese version of Flyff by December of 2003. Open beta in Korea began in January of 2004, and the game was launched in August of that year. In 2004, they would also acquire publishing contracts in Thailand, Taiwan, and China. All of this is to say, Flyff was opening to a pretty large and positive reception in Asian countries. The North American version of Flyff entered beta sometime in October or November of 2005, and we got the full version in December of that year. Within a year or two of its release, I jumped in the game and began the long road to making this video. Flyff's big gimmick, if you want to call it that, is their flying system. Hoverboards, hover bikes, clouds, butterfly wings, dog. Obviously, this is just an early version of the flying mount system that we find in practically all 3D MMOs nowadays. In the early to mid-2000s, though, this was new and fascinating. The world was even designed around it. It kind of had to be in order to accommodate a system such as this that allowed for so much freedom. But they really went out of their way to make flying seem natural and seamless, like it was a part of the world forever. Flying would become available immediately upon reaching level 20, as long as the player had something to fly on, and these things could be purchased from various NPCs or special mounts from the cash shop. This is quite out of the ordinary for an MMO of this era. Usually, there would be some kind of tedious quest line that was very involved that would eventually result in the player unlocking the flying system. Throw in an area boss who was impossible to solo for a bit of added social interaction, but nope, Flyff just let you access it as long as you had the pinya. As a game, Flyff had enough of an appeal for me already that I didn't need the flying mounts to want to stick around, but it definitely helped. The promise of exploring a world on a cool stick, or on the back of a dog. The class that I have the most experience with in Flyff is Assist, which is a very literal name for this job. This is the support class of Flyff, but they were actually given two paths that allowed them to specialize in either support or damage. The support class for an Assist is the Ringmaster. Ringmasters have crazy buffs that are so impactful that people will often run two clients so that they can have their Ringmaster follow them around on their main and have access to unlimited buffs and healing.
Buff.
The buffs even scaled with the Ringmaster's int, so they'd get pretty strong, and these buffs had a huge impact on the game. In an old MMO from the early 2000s that's been kept alive as long as this game has, you'll find a lot more Ringmaster mules than actual mains like myself. So the question is, does maining Ringmaster make me King of Flyff? I'm not sure, but yes. I remember trying to solo level an Assist back in the day and giving up before I was even through the mid-20s. What, I have to talk to people and join a party to get EXP? Not gonna happen. When I did convince my friends to play Flyff with me, it was nice to actually have some kind of role as a support in a game like this, though most of our very low-level gameplay involved me just standing around hoping they'd actually take enough damage that I could use a heal on them and feel useful. After I decided that the game was being unfair towards my unsocial nature, I switched to a Bill Poster build instead. Bill Poster is the damage path for an assist, known for being a brawling type of class. They have some interesting interactions with them having a base as a support class with the damage output of a normal DPS class. For example, I remember carrying around a stick as a future Bill Poster so that I could cast buffs on myself before switching back to a knuckle and returning to regular attacking. I'm not sure if this was efficient or not, but it was a cool system that I enjoyed utilizing. Until level 60, both Ringmasters and Bill Posters are just assists with different builds. Second Job becomes available at that point, and that's when they receive their actual title and more skills that cater better to their drastically different playstyles. So, I've never reached level 60 in Flyff before. I really wanted to finally become a Ringmaster and prove my ability to do the exact same repetitive activity for just long enough to reach an arbitrary milestone. This is my assist, and this is what I need to do for 12 more levels before I can finally say that I did something that nobody cares about. This is my pet, and oh yeah, this the whip. Flyff Universe has made a lot of improvements to the game since its launch. Graphical and UI improvements are the most apparent, as well as having the game run in a browser now, making it more accessible overall. One of my favorite changes was the redesigned assist skill tree, specifically for solo future Ringmaster leveling. Moonbeam is a new skill that was added at some point in the life cycle of Flyff Universe. This skill is a 9-second dot that deals enough damage to actually make solo leveling on a Ringmaster viable for a while. Hopefully viable for long enough that I can finish up level 60. Flyff.me recommends doing some quests, and after the amount of grinding I had already done to reach level 48, I was ready to shake it up. Our first quest is to bring a rubbed copy of the Iblis Revelation to this guy. Who rubbed this book? Why did they rub it? What does that mean? These are the cool mysteries and adventures we get to experience in the world of Flyff. To acquire this mysterious rubbed book, I first had to explore Iblis Temple, which is obviously what I did here. Done. Then I had to kill a chocobo, and I got 25% EXP for it. A short grind later, I was at level 49. To get to 50, I need to finish another quest and kill 300 enemies. Easily done. This is now officially the highest level I've ever been on any character in Flyff. I've made it to the mid-40s before on a mercenary, but I never managed to make that push to 50. It turns out, up until now, I had spent the majority of my time playing this character just killing enemies and not really doing any quest lines. A lot of the questing involved me catching up by doing the low-level prerequisite quests that then unlocked the ones that actually gave good EXP at my level. I found this thing. It turns out they put furries in Flyff at some point, and nobody bothered telling me? This Ringmaster showed up randomly while I was working on a quest, rudely interrupting me by casting helpful buffs on my character and trying to befriend me. I couldn't make out this language he was speaking.
Perhaps you are a violet here, hee.
So I lost another opportunity to make my first friend ever. I had plenty of motivation and quest lines to complete in the early 50s, but by the mid-50s, things were starting to slow down and become a bit more tedious. I had begun running out of quests, and killing monsters was becoming more and more difficult as a weak, non-combat focused class. Almost all of the enemies I fought at this point had a ranged attack, so I couldn't place a dot on them and kite as effectively anymore. This turned out mostly to be a skill issue that I resolved after enough practice, but it got me killed more times than I care to admit. I don't know what the reason is, but sometimes weapons in Flyff will have bonus damage for specific skills. Throughout the majority of my assist career, I was using this plus 7% Moonbeam damage stick, and it held its own pretty much until I found something marginally better at level 55. I ended up destroying the Moonbeam stick when attempting to upgrade it. Oops. But I found a new stick for sale for a few million pinya that had plus 9% Merkaba Hansel Rusha damage, which is a Ringmaster AoE damage skill, obviously. This is something I assumed I'd be using after my advancement to Ringmaster, and for some unknown reason, I no longer had my Moonbeam stick, so I went ahead and made the purchase. This will help keep me motivated to grind out those last 4 levels. The unhealthy amount of Red Bulls I keep stocked in my house and drink on a daily basis at this point do a better job at inspiring that motivation, but I try to ignore the effects these have on my body. After all, if I don't think about it, nothing bad can happen. Like any good, well-behaved MMO, Flyff has quite a few instanced dungeons where you can find better EXP, better gear, better friends. Flyff takes this dungeon system one step further, offering different difficulties based on your party's strength, including a baby story mode, which is my favorite difficulty. In story mode, the enemies don't drop any items or give very much EXP, but they do count towards completion of the associated dungeon quests, and these dungeon quests give very good EXP. By level 57, I had run out of most quests, and I started running around the world wildly, hoping to find enough low-level quests to squeeze out another level, but it was hopeless. There was nothing left to do besides grind away on monsters until I was eligible to become a Ringmaster. At this point, I also learned that there's a green screen feature and a dressing room built into the game. And I promise I won't edit my character into The Sims 2, unless that's what I feel like doing. The premium shop's EXP multipliers were constantly tempting me on the road to level 60, as buying these would save a lot of time, but yeah, I can't justify it. I'm willing to spend some money on a pet who can automatically pick up drooped items. Maybe I'll even buy a cosmetic here and there, but paying $5 for an hour of 2 times EXP was encroaching on territory that I didn't feel like going anywhere near. I'd rather spend the extra time. It meant I was killing more enemies anyway, and that gave me a better shot at completing a level 60 armor set, which I really wanted to acquire. Monsters were seriously dropping crazy amounts of gear at this point. It was like every 10 enemies I was getting a piece of armor or a weapon, and I was hoping to find the set that I wanted the most, the Dupoin set. The monsters I was grinding on had a small chance to drop pieces of this set, so I was really hoping luck would be in my favor here. Honestly, I would have been happy if I just got the crown. It's the part I wanted the most. I love the look of this hat. It resembles a halo, which is no accident, and I'm a perfect angel, so I deserve it. This is one of those major aesthetic pieces that Ringmaster has that drew me to them in the first place. I wanted to upgrade my stick to get a bit more damage out of it. I was mostly just growing tired of the grind and wanted to do anything else. So I spent all of my money on upgrading my healing stick until it had a fire effect on it, which is cool. I completely forgot that I would be replacing it at level 60, so this was a bad investment. While I was searching for the Dupoin set, I actually ended up finding all the pieces for the Lavanda set instead, which I think is a nice enough aesthetic that I'm not upset about getting this one. The Gizion set would have been my preferred outfit if we were talking strictly assist sets, but that's the thing about these MMOs. People don't sell normal versions of easily dropped gear, so it's a bit of an Iron Man challenge trying to get my own set of regular armor that nobody wanted but me. The Dupoin Ringmaster set that I wanted required level 62 to fully equip anyway, and I was feeling done with the grind by now, and I knew I wouldn't have the patience for 2 more levels. Not yet, at least. There it is! Level 60. And now I'm not allowed to gain any more EXP until I get my job advancement. So that's the next step. Oh my god, I can't believe I finally did it. Hell yeah, let's go become a Ringmaster. That's a nice set. That is a nice set, I like it. Alright, let's go become a Ringmaster. I've never done this before, I have no idea what this is gonna be like. I'm thinking it's probably not too crazy. I would imagine that the third job quest line is really the crazy one. All right, first step, 20 drillers, let's go. Oh wait, I have a new stick. I forgot I got a new stick. Merkaba Hansel Rusha damage. Yes, it's a dragon stick. Looks kind of stupid, that's okay. First step completed. Now what am I doing? I have to go defeat Roy. Okay, I can do that.
There's Roy. I found him. That was a tough battle. Now that we have the seal that obviously Roy stole, we need to deliver the seal to Teshar, the leader of the Kyon soldiers. Here they are. These are the Kyon soldiers.
I lead Kyon's company of soldiers for hire. Oh, you have the thing that Roy stole.
We have to go to Darkon 3. Okay, we have to defeat Hunter X and then meet Hedan in Darkon 3. This is the first time I've actually been to Darkon 3. I've never gone here before. Where's Hunter X? Oh, he's right over here. All right, let's go do it. All right, we found Hunter X. I gotta buff up for this fight. This could be really dangerous.
Barely made it.
I'm just gonna teleport straight to Darkon. You have to be level 60 to go here. So it makes sense that I've never been here before. So we're talking to the giant yellow question mark. We have to do one more task to be recognized as a successor of Hero. Go to the room of the Guardian, located where else but Guardian. Defeat Cardinal Guardian, get his heart, and we can become a Ringmaster. Tempted to just use another teleport. I'm just gonna use another teleport. Blinkwing. Straight to the Guardian's room. I'm not traveling. Why would I bother? Holy fucking level 104? Yeah, right. There's no way I was getting in here. Well, I could probably get past that guy. There's no way I was getting in here reasonably without teleporting directly to it. All right, another tough one. This is gonna be another difficult battle. This is gonna be really hard to beat this one. Ow, 400 damage? That's less than the normal monsters I used to grind to level 60 did to me. Ouch. What the fuck are you talking about? He reset. Okay, well, he reset. If you step outside of their zone, they instantly leash and heal to full. I don't even know why I'm bothering kiting this guy. Like, just sit here and spam him and attack him with his stick. Like, who cares? He does no damage. There we go. How am I supposed to possibly get through this place? I'm flying. Fuck it, I'm flying. Whoa, this place looks cool. What the hell? This is so weird. This looks like a Quake map.
I appoint you the successor of the Ringmaster Hero. Aim, bless, and watch over this person who is following your will, Ringmaster.
Yay! We are now officially a Ringmaster. Yes. Yes. Yes, I can see the Ringmaster skills. Finally! I have wanted this for so long. Now that I'm actually a Ringmaster, I actually need real stuff equipped. I can't just use a stick. I wonder if Holy Cross snapshots the damage from Moonbeam, because that would be really good. That effectively doubles my Moonbeam damage. Yeah, that increases my damage output by 100%, if that's how it works. That's something I might look into more in the future. I just want to get this out because I want to see what Merkaba Hansel Rusha looks like. Yep, here we go. A Bless poster. Need one of these. How much does this stack to? Okay, that's not the stack amount. And then Merkaba Hansel Rusha is that, and it consumes one Bless poster. That's pretty cool. Well, maybe we'll revisit this character again in the future. That is how I became a Ringmaster. Total playtime, 38 hours from character creation to becoming a Ringmaster. You can knock this out in under a work week easily. And I definitely didn't do it as quickly as you possibly can. Becoming a Ringmaster is a childhood dream that I'm happy to finally have accomplished. If it wasn't for the sake of fulfilling this dream for my 12-year-old self, I don't think I would have done this grind. I'm pretty sure that during the grind to level 60, I saw more areas and experienced more of the game than I ever had the patience to as a kid, likely due to all of the questing. It's a good thing I got most of the grind out of the way before starting this video by playing on and off over a couple of months, because my patience for it was definitely running out by the end. I have a Ringmaster now, though, and I'm proud of that. Maybe it'll be helpful to have in the future when I revisit the game. Flyff has a few of the elements that I really enjoy in an MMO.
A day-night cycle, weather effects, cute aesthetics, a world that's fun to explore, and a somewhat tough and unforgiving leveling experience that makes high-level players rare and cool to see. Even small things like ammo consumption that forces the player to maintain enough ammo in their backpack to actually use their skills. Annoying mechanics like this aren't often found in modern MMOs because we've decided as a society that we should probably avoid annoying ourselves for entertainment. Call me old if you want, but I grew up with these annoying mechanics and find games that don't have them lacking the same charm. I don't know what kind of endgame activities Flyff has. I've never gotten anywhere close to that point, and I honestly don't think I ever will. But the journey throughout the world and leveling of my first character to second job was a very fun and time-consuming experience. I'm glad I took the time to do it. There's a lot more to see within the world of Flyff, but these games are super good at taking your time and money, and we still have a couple other games to look at in this video. I will probably revisit Flyff in the future and check out another class or something, but for now, we part with Flyff and move on to our next game.
Welcome back to Togain OS. Do you want to watch awesome dances? New program added. Trickster.exe.
I remain.
Chapter 2, Trickster Online.
And Minecraft on the 3DS.
Trickster Online was developed by a company called Intrivesoft. Intrivesoft split off from a game developer known as Sonori months after the launch of Trickster Online in Korea in April 2003. The company was founded after the launch of the game, but the game itself started development in 2001. The early concepts for the game had more of a focus on farming, and it was inspired by classic console RPGs like Harvest Moon, which is a common theme to find with a lot of the developers of these MMOs. They're usually inspired by 80s and 90s games. Like, what else would they be inspired by, I guess? Eventually, the concept for the game shifted a bit, and it became the Trickster we know and love. Unlike with Flyff, it took Intrivesoft a bit longer to get Trickster Online to North America. We first saw the game during the beta that began in August of 2006. It eventually launched in February 2007, and it was only open for 6 years before being shut down, which is a way smaller time window than I remember. But to be fair, 6 years seemed like a much longer period of time when I was 15. Other versions of the game would follow shortly after the closure of the North American servers, and by the end of January 2014, all versions of Trickster were shut down. Intrivesoft had begun operating at a deficit shortly before this mass closure of all of Trickster Online's servers, and for 11 long years they would continue to do so until eventually shutting their doors in February of 2024. This is, sadly, not a rare story to find in the world of Korean MMOs, or MMOs in general, I suppose. A lot of games come and go, and it's not always obvious why. Classes in Trickster Online are kind of confusing. Each character is categorized into either power, magic, sense, or charm. You can find 2 characters in each of these categories. I kind of like all of these classes. Their aesthetics and themes are all really cool. In my youth, where I would play a character for a day before getting bored and then making a new one, I've probably cycled through all of these characters at one point or another, and also probably never got very far on any of them. Where Flyff had flying, Trickster Online has drilling. This is actually a holdover mechanic from the days when the game had more of a focus on farming that was adapted for the new direction of the game. And in all honesty, drilling does not sound as exciting as flying. It's interesting though, it's something I've spent a lot of time doing, as I always found myself wanting to make as much Galder as possible, and I thought that low-level drilling right outside of what is effectively the tutorial zone with the most basic drill was somehow the best way to accomplish this. In my opinion, one of the coolest things about Trickster Online was the fact that the level cap was ridiculously high. I believe the first level cap was 400, and it wasn't exactly a simple task getting up there. Throughout the game's life, this level cap was raised, and I believe it eventually stopped at 999. And I always thought it was fascinating to have levels that go that high. What kind of stuff happens up there, you think? It could be anything. Trickster Online's aesthetics and theme are much more in your face than Flyff. Flyff's world is cartoony for sure, but it has an element of subtlety that Trickster does away with. Stepping into the world of Trickster feels more like you're entering a video game than a world that's very strictly trying to immerse you within it. Perhaps it was intentionally designed like this, with the loud sound effects and bright colors meant to help sell the game within a game vibe, which is the premise of the story for Trickster Online. In fact, this whole virtual game theme might also explain some of the job names that were always a bit confusing to me. Out of all of these first job classes, the only ones that I would argue don't seem like real-life occupations are Fighter and Shaman. The other 6 are just real names of things that people are in the real Earth planet that we all live on. You could even argue that Fighter and Shaman are real as well because, well, they are, I guess. Fighter more so than Shaman in my mind. Most MMOs will either come up with unique names for their job titles, or they'll fall back on the old RPG standbys. These names were always confusing to me until I learned about the premise of the story. The story that I had previously never paid an ounce of attention to. So the story goes, after Don Cavalier created his masterpiece of a game, Trickster, he suddenly passed away and left his billions to be distributed to whomever wishes to participate in the game. The news is spread worldwide, and people from all walks of life show up to participate. Presumably, first job in the world of Trickster Online is just the name of whatever occupation the person had in the real world, and subsequent job titles are more video gamey. This game honestly has a lot going on that I don't really understand, and we could sit here and talk about it non-stop. So I'm just gonna jump in and get to it. Exactly. And in Minecraft on the 3DS, they have chickens. All right, let's create a new character. Let's get this started. For some reason, being a raccoon is normal difficulty. A cat is hard mode. You see, all these other ones are bullshit. It's hard being a dragon femboy in 2024. Yeah, right.
He uses cards and shows splendid attacks. Also has strong health and outstanding defense, which are advantageous in battles.
You play Raccoon if you want exciting and powerful battle. When I was younger, I found that Raccoon was one of my favorite classes. The teacher job, not something I've ever aspired to be in real life. I always liked this anime character archetype as well, because I'm a huge loser. Why did they turn Bunnymaid into a YouTube poop version of herself? Trickster Online has some weird design choices that you notice right off the bat. It has the usual overwhelming MMO pop-ups and menus that you have to spend time learning about individually to even get a grasp on the game at all. But what I noticed immediately after 15 years of video game innovations is the way the camera and basic interaction within the game world intersect. Which is to say, they don't complement each other. Holy shit, Lifeguard Dean. That's an hourglass figure if I've ever seen one. Okay, thankfully, I finally got the duck set. I finally unlocked it. So I think I'm done with the game now. As your character moves, the camera moves along with them, and you don't have free control of it. But at the same time, the game demands precision clicking to execute skills and pick up items, which can be difficult to do if the camera follows the player character and misclicking causes the player to move. This is something I didn't really get when I was younger. I always thought Trickster had a bit of a learning curve with regards to its controls, but I never truly understood why until now. Eventually, I found that there was a cursor snap option, and this made things much easier, though it didn't solve the problem entirely. After the monkey was pleased with my gathering of herbs, I entered the first portal that had a loading screen. Oh, that's cute!
Oh my god, the loading screens! Don't forget to mention loading screens in the script. These loading screens are a bit of a trip. I forgot about them until now. Flyff had some loading screens as well, so does Ragnarok Online, but there's a huge issue with these loading screens in the modern day. Loading areas in a 2005 MMO on a 2024 M.2 SSD means instant loading times. If your brain can comprehend the image within the 4 frames it's visible, you probably have 700 IQ, and you should not be watching this video. Go work for NASA. Why are you watching me? I found myself sometimes going through portals back and forth just to get a glimpse of some of these loading screens, but when I realized they're all stored locally in the game's data folder, I took a look at them there. This loading screen image of the Dark Lord Dragon actually made me rethink my decision to make a raccoon. It just looks so cool, and I really like the femboy aesthetic that Dragon has going on. One thing they forgot to put in Minecraft on the 3DS is diamonds. They don't exist! Where are they? I moved further through the desert, and I learned more about the systems of the game, specifically the skill system, which requires cards to learn a skill initially, and then TM points earned from leveling to increase the level of that skill. 1 TM level equals 1 point that can be used to level a skill. I think some skills require more than 1 point per level, but I don't think I ever got to that point. I got my hands on Galder Throw, the best skill in the game. You throw money at enemies to do damage, and according to the skill description, the anger caused by doing so is what makes the money deal damage. Yeah, I want to use Galder Throw. Galder Throw was like one of my favorite skills when I was younger, so I want to use Galder Throw a lot. The world of Trickster doesn't feel as massive as some other MMOs for some reason. It could be because of the isometric perspective, the locked camera, or the fact that I only put in a few hours into the game before I got bored of Raccoon. I should have just made a dragon. I don't know what I was thinking. As I pushed further towards second job, I had to start learning about some more of the questing systems in the game. Turns out, unlocking these key quests, which are very important, took a bit more effort than I first expected. These key quests require you to receive an item from multiple NPCs after earning their trust by completing their quests. In order to earn an NPC's trust, you have to complete their quests multiple times, I believe 5. This is such an odd approach to a questing system in an MMO, but you do get different rewards after every completion, and you can turn them all in at once if you choose, as long as you have the required materials. Good. We'll see if I can see this person's info. This Dark Lord Dragon is level 311. That's so cool. I love the Dark Lord Dragon art so much. The more I played Trickster, the more I started to pick up on a few things. The developers clearly loved their game. Something about this game feels special in a way that other KMMOs usually lacked. Even without any social interaction, which I refuse to partake in, Trickster Online feels like I'm getting the exact experience that the developers wanted. It's hard to put into words, honestly, but Trickster definitely has something special going on with its atmosphere that I personally haven't seen replicated in any other MMO. I was beginning to get past some of the more annoying aspects of the gameplay, such as the universal delay that all attacks seem to have, the lack of input buffering that makes combat feel clunky when you try to cast something and it doesn't work, and the fact that you can't trade more than 20 items at once to a shop? Why? It's a good thing I spent all that time queuing up my sales just to be told no. Thanks! Despite these shortcomings, I was enjoying my time in Trickster, exploring the world and slowly making my way through leveling this character. I also started noticing some of the things that I had previously forgotten about the game. As your maximum HP and MP get higher, the bars representing them on the HUD get larger as well. I always thought this was neat. It makes your increased stats feel like they have more of an impact than just number go up, bar get wide as well. Another interesting design choice that I had completely forgotten about is how your EXP bar goes up as you hit enemies. I would say that in the majority of MMOs and RPGs as a whole, your EXP doesn't increase until the monster is dead. In Trickster, every hit on an enemy results in a small chunk of that enemy's EXP. This is also how EXP gains work for combat stats in RuneScape, but I personally observed this in Trickster well before I spent much time playing RuneScape.
Eventually, the game started to shift focus a lot more to drilling in order to complete quests, and this proved to be kind of an uninteresting mechanic that was sapping away what little enjoyment I was still getting out of this raccoon. I need 100,000 Galder checks to do this. How am I gonna get the money for this? Oh my god. That's seriously what's gonna stop me is the money, as I'm not gonna have enough money to get my job advancement. 300,000? I have 180. So I'm like halfway there. That's bullshit. Yeah, look, 100k Galder check is 105k, which is fine, but I just don't have that much Galder. How am I supposed to get that? Maybe I should stop using Galder throws so much. As if. Now that I know I'm not gonna be able to afford my job advancement, which is so silly that is what's stopping me from getting my job advancement. I think I'm pretty much good. I've seen everything I need to see. I've reminisced and experienced this childhood game enough that I kind of get what's going on. Level 71, Raccoon. It's been fun. Maybe I need to play a different character. It's, it's a really good port. It might be the best version of Minecraft. I would say that if you really want to experience Minecraft at its fullest, you can't go wrong with Minecraft on the 3DS. This game is just about exactly what I remember it being. A bit confusing, very flashy and cute, with more charm than you can find in most games of the era. It has an adorable, unique art style that, as time passed, has created a time capsule of the early 2000s anime aesthetic that I grew up surrounded by. A style that reminds me of Ouran High School Host Club or Soul Eater. Name any 2000s anime and you can find a character in Trickster Online that looks as though they were taken right out of that universe. I love Trickster Online. Even after my 7 hours of playing, my opinion on it is much the same as it was before. Though it is a bit less of an enigma to me now since I understand it better with my huge adult brain, but it's the same game I've always loved. I don't think it aged as gracefully as some other MMOs though. If you go into Trickster Online, expect a very dated experience. But if you grew up playing these games during their era, it's not going to be too difficult to adjust to. If you're used to the extremely technically impressive, well-polished games that we have available nowadays though, you might find yourself struggling to get any enjoyment out of Trickster Online. PvP is something I overlooked in Flyff, despite its prevalence within that game, and PvP finds its way into the world of Trickster as well. I don't know, I just never really cared about PvP in these games, or in most MMOs to begin with. To me, PvP is meant for competitive multiplayer games like Quake or Unreal Tournament, where the premise of the game is to compete with other people. It's the same reason I never really got into Black Desert Online very much. The whole endgame was just PvP. I can't imagine taking competition seriously when you can just buy power with microtransactions, and more importantly, when there's no shoot involved. My standards for competition in video games are probably higher than most with my esports background, but I think the general population would agree with me on this one. Putting in time to grow your character, that's fine. Spending $10,000 a month for 2 years in order to roll the dice enough times on your gear that you one-shot anyone who didn't do that? That's fucking stupid. Trickster is another one of those MMOs that has a day-night cycle, which is something I wish I could talk about more beyond just, yeah, sometimes the sun goes down, then it comes back up later. Usually on a set schedule. These day-night cycles in these old MMOs don't seem to have much of an impact at all on the actual gameplay, but I think exposure to this mechanic from such a young age is why I tend to admire games that have a day-night cycle so much nowadays. I'm not sure if weather effects are present in Trickster. I don't think I stuck around long enough to find out, but even if they were, I would imagine they would have little to no impact on the world outside of some aesthetic changes. I find myself often using the word charming to describe these games, which is a nice catch-all term to get my point across quickly, but as I write the word more and more, I start to wonder what charm actually means in the context of these old KMMOs. Let's cover the list. Day-night cycle. Charming. Mandatory ammo consumption. Charming. Weather effects. Charming. Tedious leveling curve that wastes your time. Charming. Cute aesthetics. Charming. Confusion with regards to how the game is even meant to be played. Charming.
It's just so charming!
I think half the time I'm just using this word in place of annoying to describe the games I grew up playing while trying to make it seem as though their annoying systems aren't actually making me frustrated as I revisit them. Let there be no confusion. These games have their annoying, time-wasting mechanics, and that's just a fact of life. But damn it, they're just so charming. Early 2000s anime-style MMO time capsule really is the best way to describe Trickster Online. Playing it brings me back to my childhood, which is shocking considering how little I actually played it back in the day. My adventures on my raccoon reminded me of simpler times where these MMOs were all that mattered in my life, and I'm happy that people have preserved these experiences. I get to look back and talk about them now as an adult with a much more developed brain who can look at them a bit more objectively, even if I do allow my nostalgia to do the talking most of the time. Compared to Flyff, Trickster was a bit of a disappointment, but it's honestly kind of an unfair comparison. Trickster is no longer being updated, whereas Flyff has been receiving quality of life updates for quite a while, so maybe that's not even a fair point to make. All I know is, I enjoyed Trickster for a bit, but it quickly wore me down. If I come back to Trickster Online, I'm definitely making a dragon instead. I think playing a class I really want to play, as well as a character who uses ranged magic attacks, might make the experience feel a bit better. Maybe I just need to have more patience with the game. If Trickster received a revamp that modernized it pretty heavily, it would actually be a solid game with its unique style, but that's not the timeline we find ourselves in.
Welcome back to Togain OS.
Chapter 3, MapleStory.
I think it would be a mistake to not at least mention MapleStory in this video. It's kind of the king of this genre in many ways. I started playing MapleStory when I was 10 years old. I saw an ad on some website and it led me down this path, much in the same way Flyff's advertising appealed to me, but with less jester artwork. I specifically remember watching these 3D animations while waiting for the game to download. Originally, I was going to tear into these and talk about how awful they looked and how much the animation sucked, but really it's not so bad. Holy shit, he just killed those kids. They're just trying to get on the boat, dude. Oh my god. Especially when compared with this. This is a Flyff animation that I found while doing research, and it's probably one of the most horrifying things I've ever seen. Every character looks like a horror game enemy. Even the character who's not supposed to be dying of thirst, but maybe I'm being too harsh. Once I finally had MapleStory downloaded, I spent a few hours playing and fell in love with it immediately. It just hit right. Everything about it was enjoyable, and I remember waiting around the very next day for a maintenance to finish so that I could play it some more. Little did I know at that time that eventually talking about MapleStory would become my job. MapleStory is a game I'm very intimately familiar with. I've spent 20 years playing it on and off, I've learned its systems and behind-the-scenes functionality, and I consider myself a bit of an expert on old-school MapleStory. Its simplicity really drove its success, I believe. I can only speak for myself, but as a kid, if I came across an MMO that was too complex, my interest would dip pretty severely. MapleStory, on the other hand, was easy to pick up and play. You could start swinging on snails in minutes, and this was an easy concept to understand. On top of that, MapleStory had, and still does have, very viscerally enjoyable gameplay, which sets it apart from the majority of MMOs in my opinion. A lot of games just really aren't that fun to play. MapleStory is really the big dog of these cutesy MMOs from the early 2000s. The art style was unique and memorable, the gameplay was simple and straightforward, and the game is still around today, perhaps even being more popular now than it ever has been. MapleStory has always been a game that focuses primarily on grinding. All of the games we've looked at today share this in common, but while MapleStory has evolved its gameplay and systems in ways that are more engaging than just killing monsters slowly and leveling up, the core still remains the same. Number go up. And this is a gameplay loop that I find very satisfying. It's one of the reasons I love these Korean MMOs so much. They constantly dangle more progression in front of you, even if that progression takes 100 hours to achieve and only increases your character's damage output by 0.5%. It still gives you something to work towards. This is a bit of a double-edged sword, though, as I've learned over the years. This never-ending feeling of being able to achieve just a little bit more by committing huge amounts of time is kind of dangerous. If you spend too much time chasing the dragon of complete progression in an MMO like MapleStory, it will severely and unapologetically burn you out. It's happened to me numerous times. Self-control is the greatest trait one can have when approaching an MMO like MapleStory in the modern day. I have a deep love for this game. The company who runs it really isn't the greatest out there, but at least they've kept it alive and continue to do so with pretty consistent updates. There's plenty more we could discuss with MapleStory, and I already have. You can find a lot of that on my channel. But for now, we should move on. There's one more game I want to take a look at in this video.
Welcome back to Togain OS. New program added, Ragnarok.exe. Togain OS has encountered an error and has to crash now.
There's just no other option.
Chapter 4, Ragnarok Online.
While I would definitely call both Flyff and Trickster Online cozy games, they don't hold a candle to the coziness found within Ragnarok Online. I was going into this game expecting an experience similar to Trickster, where I quickly realized I didn't care very much about progressing and just kind of got burnt out quickly, but I was very pleasantly surprised by Ragnarok Online. Ragnarok, as I understood it for a long time, falls into the category of franchises that have attempted different versions of their IP in many different styles over the years. There's the original Ragnarok Online for PC, Ragnarok Online 2, Ragnarok for the DS, Ragnarok Odyssey, Ragnarok Clicker, and then a few different mobile games, including Idle Pouring, which is the best one, and the game I've easily spent the most time playing. Ragnarok Begins, Ragnarok Origin, Ragnarok M, Ragnarok Zero, Ragnarok in Wonderland. Even official Ragnarok NFTs were created for Ragnarok Labyrinth NFT in 2022. This list doesn't even cover the total number of Ragnarok games that have existed at some point, but today we're only focused on the original, Ragnarok Online. Ragnarok's origins can be traced back to the manhwa created by this guy in 1998. The MMO version, Ragnarok Online, was created by a company called Gravity, and they're doing all right. Ragnarok has clearly been incredibly successful for them, but they've also been very active, investing in other companies and at least attempting growth outside of Korea. Gravity as a company isn't breaking any records in terms of revenue or anything, and the majority shares were purchased by a company called Gung Ho Online Entertainment in 2008, who was in charge of the mobile game Puzzles and Dragons, which was the first mobile game in history to gross over $1 billion US. As it turns out, the history of the company behind Ragnarok is quite extensive and interesting, involving many different big names. It shouldn't be surprising since Ragnarok Online is still a well-known entity in the modern day, as they've attempted many different games and kept their franchise alive in that way. I even played Ragnarok Online through Steam, so someone's taking care of this game. However, like many of the Korean MMOs of the early 2000s, it wasn't that popular outside of Asian countries. I would say that Ragnarok Online definitely has its fan base nowadays, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of them are watching this video, but it's a game I've only ever heard about until I played Idle Pouring in the 2010s. Yes, that's right, I lied to you guys. I didn't actually play Ragnarok Online as a kid. I was too busy with MapleStory. I saw it around. It was difficult to avoid exposure to these games when you were a part of any KMMO community back then. But when I was younger, I honestly thought it looked dumb. This didn't, I guess. This is an opinion I no longer hold, by the way. I find Ragnarok's art style ridiculously charming. Flyff was going for a 3D look in the mid-2000s, which became heavily outdated since it didn't have too much of a unique style. Trickster has a unique style, but instead of aging gracefully, it has become more of a time capsule that makes me think of watching Inuyasha on Toonami. Ragnarok Online, however, has a mix of SNES-style graphics within 3D environments, and the style has enough personality that you wouldn't even realize it isn't just a 2024 indie game with slightly retro-style graphics. As long as you don't look at the UI, or the resolution, or play it for yourself, or even attempt to download it, or look at the website. Most sprites used in the game appear as though they were put through a warming filter. It's hard to explain, but this sprite work might be some of the best I've ever seen in any game. The item art is just as good, and you can tell there was a lot of effort put into Ragnarok Online's art. This was the first indication to me that Ragnarok Online was going to be a very special experience. In Ragnarok, you level both your base character and their job separately through similar means. I would assume questing and MMO things of that nature. We start out as a novice with base level 1 and job level 1. After a series of leveling, re-leveling, and even transcending so that we can level again, we can eventually reach base level 250 and get 4 different job advancements. Ragnarok easily has the most complex leveling system of any MMO I've ever seen, or any RPG for that matter, but in practice, it's pretty easy to understand. So I learned a bit about what was to be expected from the leveling experience, and then I took a look at the list of classes in Ragnarok Online. 4th job was released very recently, in September of 2023, and my eyes were immediately drawn to Dragon Knight. We already know what class I'm choosing. I also thought Shadowcross looked really cool, but I think I'll save the edgy class picks for another video. A class called Dragon Knight, who could use spears, was literally my 2 favorite things put together. I don't know how much dragon theming Dragon Knight actually has, but the name alone was cool enough. I was becoming more and more excited to play this game after finding out about this insane leveling system and Dragon Knight's existence. Even though I knew I wouldn't actually have the patience to reach 4th job in this video, it'd take like hundreds of hours probably. The reason for including Ragnarok in this video, despite me never having played it, outside of just how iconic it is so that I could attempt to get as close to the early 2000s MMO experience as possible, recreating it by playing a game from that era that I simply never tried, going into it only doing the research that I would have traditionally done back in the day. Look up the classes, Google search different NPCs to try and figure out how to progress, and completely avoid the annoying YouTube tutorials that are widely available nowadays. Okay, let's create a character. Welcome to Midgard. You can be a human or a furry. Choose your character. So Ragnarok did a really great thing here. Okay, the game froze. Okay. Welcome to the world of Midgard. You can be a human or a little furry thing. You could be a human, a furry, or...
Game has crashed. Please start your fucking stupid video over, idiot.
At least we don't have to spend 4 hours downloading 2 gigabytes now. Well, I guess the end of this video might literally be, I wanted to play Ragnarok, but it doesn't fucking work. Starting off, the game was giving me all kinds of issues. Every time I played, it would crash. Trying to relaunch the game after a crash, sometimes I'd get a stupid error from easy anti-cheats. Actually getting into the game was incredibly difficult. I'm gonna show you guys how to make a really fast, quick character. What's a cool hairstyle? Oh shit, there's hairstyles. It's gonna crash. It will fucking crash. I know it will. There you go, I made a character. Staying in the game was even harder until I realized that I can just ignore the crash notification and the game would continue to run just fine. Okay, wait. I got an error that says the game crashed, but I'm still playing because I didn't click OK on the error message. Okay, we're gonna close the game if you click yes on this. I'm not gonna click yes then. Trickster Online was a cute, nostalgic, fun 7-hour experience, but Ragnarok Online genuinely shocked me. Going into it, I was expecting it to feel a lot like Trickster, dated, flashy, and not the most fun experience, but these expectations were dashed almost immediately, and Ragnarok was none of these things. Oh shit, I went to the Sograt Desert. No. Dude, what the fuck was that sound effect for the cactuses? That's the cactus sound effect. The combat was mind-blowing, surprisingly so. I know, looking at this insane fast-paced action, that you need no further explanation, but Ragnarok has a similar control scheme and camera system as Trickster, with smoother gameplay that somehow results in a very simple but satisfying combat system. I'm not sure how to describe it. I never ran into the issue of precision clicking messing up my gameplay like I did in Trickster, and it was never even a thought that had crossed my mind. I think this is due to a difference in character movement speed, as well as Ragnarok allowing the player to not only zoom in and out, but also rotate the camera a full 360 degrees in most areas. I want to be a swordsman. Job level 10, boom. Basic skill level 9, boom. Oh, I have 9 skill points. Oh, maybe I had to level up that skill. Yeah, I had to do that. Yay! Put applause sound effect. After grinding enough, I became a swordman, and I was 100% sold on Ragnarok by the end of my first day playing. Day 2 was a bit more serious. I was ready to put in some time into this game and experience its world, but man was I confused. I had the option of grinding on the monsters immediately outside of the starting area, which was what I was expecting the gameplay to be, so I did that for a while until I realized that something just wasn't right. The game was too unforgiving. On the same map that had monsters I could one-shot, there were monsters who could one-shot me, and they would take every opportunity to do so.
Double KO.
Moving one map away, there were monsters who would gang up on me, forcing me to spam my very expensive potions to avoid dying for the 85th time in my 3 hours playing so far.
Chicken.
For a while, I was ready to accept that this was just what I had to do to progress, but I was informed that there was actually a better way. Eden Group Leveling Quests. These are basically just a series of repeatable quests that give decent EXP and are available from level 1 all the way to level 140. This super cute elf girl teleported me to the Eden Group Leveling Quest area, where I was greeted by a small gathering of people. Jesus Christ, I hate this place. Get me out of here. There's too many people. Oh my god, I hate it. I started calling these e-dueling quests because saying the whole thing took too much time. I'm on a tight schedule here. Yes, I could have said Eden quests, which would have been even faster and less annoying, but I finally got my first set of e-dueling quests and it was off to get started clearing them. A process that took over 3 hours for the first set of level 11 to 25 quests. The nice thing about e-dueling quests is that they ask you to travel through a lot of different areas and kill a bunch of monsters, so I was able to begin the process of learning the layout of the world while getting some good EXP at the same time. This was mostly thanks to Ragnarok's built-in navigation system. I could tell it where I wanted to go, what NPC I was looking for, what monsters I was looking for, and it would guide me there. It doesn't always do a perfect job, but it usually got me where I was going without too much hassle. And as a Texan, I hate hassle. Us Texans also hate the big city where there are too many people, and I found myself going through the big city more times than I ever dreamt I would. My favorite part of the big city was how it killed my frame rate over time. Bump into one too many city slickers and you're stuck with 14 FPS until you restart the game, god damn it. I think the game has a memory leak or something, because this happened a lot. One thing I noticed that kind of confused me was how every weapon and piece of armor I found was an unnamed generic item until I used a magnifier item on it.
Armor? Is that better than what I have? Oh, I need to use you have to use magnifiers on everything.
It's a weird system,
And I really don't have any money to spare to carry around a bunch of magnifiers right now.
I'm not sure why this system exists. Literally just adds another step between finding a new piece of gear and figuring out if it's worth keeping. A step that feels completely unnecessary in my opinion. Traveling as much as I did to complete these quests wore me down pretty heavily by the end of day 2, and I still had 4 more quests to complete from this initial set. But I felt like I was making good progress that actually mattered, bringing me one step closer to becoming a Dragon Knight, which was a goal I didn't actually expect to complete, seeing as how I had already played 6 hours and I wasn't even a knight yet, the most basic version of a Dragon Knight.
All right, well, that's day 2 of Ragnarok Online. God damn, I'm tired. I guess tomorrow we'll finish up these quests and just keep doing them, because that seems to be what the game is.
I knew if nothing else, I could make it to second job and become a knight with enough time and e-dueling quests, so I made that my goal. Day 3 was pretty much just working towards that. I was starting to tire of the title Swordman and was becoming more and more anxious to reach job level 50 where I could finally become a knight, but I knew this gameplay loop of questing would eventually bore me, especially when so much of the game becomes slowly walking from one area to another. Ragnarok Online features a weight system, a common mechanic in Korean MMOs, but it seems more punishing than any system like it that I've dealt with in the past. Each item has a set weight, and if you're carrying more than 50% of what you can hold, you simply won't passively recover HP or SP, which is absurd. It's such a ridiculous implementation of this system that I found myself waiting for SP recovery multiple times, only to then see this stupid little icon informing me that I was over 50% encumbrance. Why not a higher value, like 75%, 80%, something that makes sense? This is a minor complaint, but it bugged me. Trickster Online has a weight system as well, but the server I played on gave me an accessory that increased my carrying capacity by a huge amount, so it was never a factor. I can't even remember what the downside to being encumbered is on Trickster. Can't pick up more stuff?
And that is all of the e-dueling quests, the first set of them completed. Let's go turn in the ones that I haven't already and grab the next set because we're not done yet.
I had started to realize that these e-dueling quests weren't going to pay the bills, and more offensively, they were starting to bore me. I had a lot of HP, and I was trying to increase my defense as much as I reasonably could, but there were times where I'd find myself spamming potions just to stay alive, and that burned through Zinni like crazy. I started to look around for money-making opportunities so that I could reasonably continue to play without getting burnt out. And that's when I came across the best enemies that the Nordic gods ever bestowed upon us. Ant eggs.
I think these ant eggs are going to be the best way to grind, actually. It's going to take a while, but they don't hit me, and they give good EXP. I'll see how long I can stay here. I need to get my agility up a little bit, though. Oh, that's base level 47. That's job level 41. This seems like a really good way to get EXP. I'm already halfway through base level 47, and I've just been walking around kind of doing nothing, auto-attacking these ant eggs. This is the best. Fully stationary, quick respawn, and best of all, they don't attack back. These guys are free EXP and money as soon as you're able to damage them at all. It turns out this was a very popular enemy to train on in the Ant Health dungeon, so I moved a bit deeper into the dungeon to find a spot that was unoccupied, and then I grinded like crazy. This was how I started making enough money to purchase potions that would allow me to move on to stronger enemies, and I knew I always had these guys as a fallback option if I desperately needed money in the future. This discovery actually shifted my opinion of Ragnarok significantly. Up until now, Ragnarok was a frustration-filled experience that I wasn't sure I would be able to get past in order to enjoy the game that I knew was underneath all of the jankiness and frustration. When you're low level, you can't really kill anything, so you don't get to experience much of the game because so much of the world is a threat to you.
As an example, I found myself walking from area to area trying to complete an e-dueling quest, only to find that I would get boxed by sea otters the moment I entered their territory. Yeah, that very... I should have never stepped foot outside without my Glocky. That's my fault. The ant eggs provided exactly what I needed to get a foothold on my swordman. A monster who isn't intimidating that will allow me to gain some levels so that I can explore the world without as much fear. Knowing I had a source of EXP and money was a massive sigh of relief, and the rest of my time with Ragnarok was very enjoyable because of that. But I knew ant eggs wouldn't scale forever, so I eventually started looking for another source of income and EXP.
Okay, so I'm selling these fucking red herbs, and then they leave my inventory and I don't get the money? Oh, it comes in the mail. Okay, well, let's go to the Payon dungeon because red herbs spawn there. I think this could be good money.
Player shops are present in all 3 of the games we've discussed today, but I'm pretty sure Ragnarok is the only one with player shops that allow the shopkeeper to purchase items while they're AFK. Perfect for avoiding social interaction. Certain items are used in alchemy, and they take effort to farm, so there's a market there for low-level players like myself to spend the time farming to sell off these red herbs to the high-level rich players who will pay for them. And I still don't even have to talk to anybody. The Payon dungeon is where I made my riches. Red herbs are abundant here, even the enemies have a chance to drop them, and the second floor of the dungeon was right at my level range by the mid to high 40s, giving me the EXP I was looking for alongside the red herbs and some other drops that I could sell for a huge profit. At job level 40, I had thought I would be done with Ragnarok Online, and I just wanted to become a knight so I could reach my arbitrary milestone, but this was before the ant egg discovery that made the game good. If you start the knight job advancement quest at job level 50, the max level, you can skip one of the most tedious steps that requires multiple items from a variety of monsters and takes forever to complete.
Oh my god! Are you serious?
5 old frying pan and 5 snails.
The thing is, since I started the quest already, it didn't matter whether I reached job level 50 or not. I was locked into doing this part of the job advancement. So even though I eventually grinded to job level 50 before I did the knight job advancement, I was still forced to do the tedious fetch quest because I had already accepted it pre-50, and I wasn't very happy about that. Ragnarok Online, for whatever reason, doesn't have a way to forfeit quests. I had no choice, my hands were tied, but this is what being a knight is all about. We always take the most difficult path on accident so our healers can correct us, and our DPS players can just think we're stupid.
Yeah! We reached job level 50. Hell yeah. We, the 2 of us, you and me, we did it. And I'm about to reach base level 60. And that's base level 60. Pay on, and we'll go sell these red herbs. Sell all 117 for another 35k. Almost at 100,000 zenny now. Hell yeah. Okay, I hope I don't have to do this because I already started the quest. Really hoping that they don't require me to actually do it. I'm back in the Knights Guild, but I think Sir Andrew's gonna be annoying, and he's gonna make me do this anyway. Oh my god, yeah, I have to actually do it because I already started. Yeah, so, I think I have to do this quest anyway. Well, I'm a lot stronger now, so I guess bug legs and getting all this stuff's not gonna be that bad. So I've effectively locked myself in a position where even though I got to job level 50, I still have to do this step of the quest. Great. That's awesome. I actually need to get the man-eater blossoms for this quest. They're very valuable. Man-eater blossoms, gonna need a lot of those. Might as well grab them while I'm here. 2, that's 3, but I'm out of potions, I just realized. I didn't restock. Okay, that's 4 man-eater blossoms, and this, I should get the last one here. Are these really this easy to get? This might actually be decent money as I get a little stronger. Well, done with that section. Let's look at these bug legs. 1, and that's all 5 bug legs taken care of. Now we can get the hell out of here. Now we need clam flesh, and that is from shellfish, probably on the frickin' beach.
It's 2 a.m., but I am determined to become a knight before I go to sleep. Are they gonna make me go through the otters again? Because I don't think I can survive that. Maybe I can now. Yep, we're back at the sea otters. Well, this sucks because I don't know any other way to get through here, so I hope I can survive it now. Don't use magic, don't use magic. Fuck. They just didn't. Okay, he just decided not to actually use it. Just threatened me with it. Wow, I might be moving fast enough that I can avoid their magic attack now. God, these otters are scary. I've never been so terrified of otters. Please don't slow me down by hitting me. Please, God. Ah, I think it's over. Ah! Look how close I was! How am I supposed to get through here? Please tell me. I'm just gonna find these shellfish somewhere else because it's not possible to get through there. Still! It's still not possible. Oh boy, this is gonna be such a long journey. I need a mount at some point. I need to look into getting a mount. There we go. There are shellfish on this map, and I'm gonna kill them, and I'm gonna get the clams meat and become a knight. What are these guys aggroed? 1. Oh, it's base level 61. I'll take it. 2 clam flesh. 3 clam meat. That's 4 clam flesh. Ah, that's it. That's all 5. All right, we're done here. Okay, clam meat acquired. Let's get some old frying pans from Magnolia's. Oh, I know where these guys are. Yeah, we can just find these right in this Sograt Desert. All right, let's get some frying pans. Need 5 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, that one was really easy. All right, next is Mermaid's Heart. Oh man, it's in the dungeon. Where am I going? I need Mermaid's Hearts. I need to kill these mermaids. I need their hearts. I need their hearts. But I don't see any mermaids with hearts that I can rip from them. There's one. All right, we have 1 heart. 2 mermaids' hearts. Ahaha. 3rd mermaid heart. Oh, I've got an achievement. I don't even know what it was for. Reach achievement level 4. I don't know what that was. 4 mermaid hearts. And that's all 5. Done. One item remains. Snail shell. So close to done. I'm just almost done. 1, 2, 3. All right, that's 4 snail shells. And that's all 5. Everything is acquired. Let's go back to Sir Andrew. Okay, Sir Andrew, you fucking asshole. I did it. Let's keep going. Sir Syracuse, give me your riddle. Next, Sir Windsor. All right, combat test. All right, that was pretty easy, actually. I'm very high level for that test now. 1 more test. Well, there's more, but this is the next test. And now we sit here. We have to sit here for 5 minutes. I have to sit here and wait for 5 minutes. Ah! I friggin' passed. Now I need to talk to Sir Gray, who's watching over the beds. Okay, finally, we can become a knight. It's that time. Yeah! We became a knight. I became a fucking knight. Finally! That feels like I really accomplished something, actually. I actually feel like I kind of accomplished something, and I get a booster skill? Oh, hell yeah. Anyway, this is all gonna have to wait until I return to the game because I am worn out. But I'm a knight. I did it. And that wraps up my exploration of these games. With Ragnarok, I think I did a pretty decent job of recreating the experience of an old cutesy Korean MMO from the early 2000s. This experience turned out to be way more enjoyable than I expected, and to be honest, I wasn't even sure what this video was going to become. I started this script in January of 2024, and I spent months figuring out how I could turn it into an actual video. This is certainly something I'd love to revisit in the future. There are plenty more games I could explore, and even more to look at within the games we've discussed today. But who knows what the future holds. Thanks to my supporters on YouTube and Patreon for their continued support. I want to give a shout out to my big tier patrons and YouTube members: Jerry L, Anonymous, Evan Bat Eater, Miller GG Easy, Jacob, Mushba, Sock Ears, Joseph H, and Rafe Rum. And a big thank you to everyone else as well.